Good morning. I'll call this meeting to order. Good morning. Looking for approval of the agenda. There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes from Monday, January 6th.
I thought they read well. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
The motion and a second to approve the minutes of January 6th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1, County Attorney Fiscal Year 26 Budget Review. Honorable Mr. John Morton, County.
Good morning.
John, you want to turn that mic on? No, please. Oh. I thought you said. I didn't realize we did. Is there a light or something?
Oh, it should light up.
It's on. There we go. Now we're on. Thank you.
Having a hard time getting used to the microphones upstairs. In fact, I wanted to preface my remarks by thanking the board for its participation in the courtroom improvements, the only real big improvements in 60 years. And for those of you who were at the last trial, I think you picked on the ergonomics of the courtroom, the way it worked with the witness line of sight, the path of travel, the closeness to the jury. It really is a huge benefit.
Did you square away with CTI on the table?
No,
who ordered?
I tried to be fair with the guy. I said, send us a bill for half of them. We'll
So you
pay
paid
that.
for the one in the magistrate room, but
No,
not in
we
the-
never got a bill, did we? Madam Auditor?
So neither one are paid for yet?
No,
Okay.
No, we just got a past due notice.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that hard. I mean, the tables didn't spec out. I mean, I think what happened was the shop made them the same width. Or is that
Yep.
depth? That's all. It's not a big deal. Except it's not what we ordered. And I don't think we should pay for them until we can. Okay, getting back to the budget review. My apologies for not getting this to you until last week. Like everything, it's a mix of business. Let's talk about revenues. We had, as you look back 3, 4, 5 years, I had reduced projected revenues down to 35,000. That was sort of the COVID. Was the reverse idea from about the COVID depression. You didn't have near as much crime. You didn't have people out. They weren't getting convicted. They weren't paying fines. That took a big hike, 23, 24. Budget 35,000, income brought in 53. Last year, I raised it conservatively from 35 to 40. Year to date, we're at 24.55. I don't know that necessarily translates into current year revenue of 50,000. But I think it probably does. So I'm already making a change there. Instead of 40,000 revenue, I want to project 45,000 of revenue. On the miscellaneous reimbursements, that has varied a lot, 10, 9, 6 so far. I think that's appropriate.
Hey, can I interrupt you for a second? Under the descriptions on these, Courtney's agreed we will change them, maybe make them more user friendly. If there could be different wording that would describe those or not at all.
Yeah.
What could the 45,000 say? Fines?
No. Well, going back in history, the county started receiving a commission on collection of past due fines. It was fairly healthy. I think it was 35, 40%. Well, the state regarded us as a very effective but very expensive partner. They've been reducing that percentage down. And what I don't like about the idea is I don't want anybody to think I'm prosecuting them so they get a fine, which ultimately leads to county revenue, because that's not why I do what I do. So I hate to emphasize that it's fines. It's actually other revenues as well. There's some court costs, some deposition fees, money we pay out to serve subpoenas. I think if you wanted to generically describe it, but it all comes from the judicial branch. You could call it judicial branch fees.
Okay.
Speaking of which, the other reason that I'm more optimistic since I put in 40,000, I learned, well, all the county attorneys in the state learned last week that the state judicial department had been miscalculating our cut. And I think Carroll County was shorted about $9,000 over a couple, 3
I
years.
didn't go to the Zoom call. I asked Courtney if she'd gotten a check and she hadn't seen any yet.
I don't think they have any plans of paying.
Oh,
I mean, they've already given the money to the state general fund, so I don't know. But anyway, so that's a couple, $3,000 more per year that could have, should have, would have been there. That was a coding error on their part. And it's a complicated thing. That spreadsheet has what, 15, 20 items on it? Because it varies so much.
ISAC, did you see the ISAC? They sent out a big Zoom meeting, like every county was going to get all this money.
Word I had, they don't have the money to pay.
Okay.
Maybe they'll get the legislature to give it back. I don't know. But in any event, I'm more optimistic on revenue. I want to go to 45,000. Miscellaneous, we were at 7,500. It seems to be trending up over the years. I put that at 8,500. For the majority of the line items, including salaries, training, all those things, I either went 2.5% or 0 increase. General office supplies are the same. That's a 0 increase. Office expense up 2.5%.
Could that be just rent shredding? If we were to change that.
I'd have to think what else is in there. Cleaning, utilities, photocopier,
Are all in the 16,000?
fax machine.
I thought
Sure.
that was basically just the rent, I thought.
Well, all these items are included in that.
Oh, yes. But as far as if we were to simplify the line it would just say rent and shred.
Most landlords don't provide you with photocopier or fax machine
Exactly.
and a security system. And cooking.
No, I'm just looking to change it. Instead of office expense copies, you're saying that that's included underneath the rent.
Yeah, I would pick a bigger term than that. I mean, if you wanted to use an accounting term, it'd be occupancy expense. When I think about that a little bit more, do you have like a book as standard? I'd rather do something that the auditor was also going to like.
We're trying to get rid of the phonographs, not in yours, but there's a lot of them. They're
I
just
used to have
obsolete.
Telegraph.
Huh?
Telegraph is in there.
Or that's what the one I was thinking. Phonograph.
Speaking of something to get rid of, postage, we spent 300, some money on postage this year. We didn't buy any last year. I just decided to go over there and get quite a few stamps. Postage used to be a huge item, not so much anymore. Great majority of things are emailed. Electronic thing we're doing now to transfer files. We have cloud boxes set up. We put the stuff in the box, give you a password. You can go into that box and you can retrieve the stuff. Unfortunately, I don't think those electronic things save money when you add it all up, but that's another story.
So you basically bought ahead on postage, you're saying?
I don't know, bought ahead. We bought a reasonable amount that we
Yeah,
thought.
but I
would
mean,
last.
you've got enough to cover you for this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's what,
Absolutely. Yeah.
because I had that circles line.
Yeah.
He hedged inflation by purchasing
yeah.
a.
Well,
One of those forever stamps, which is probably.
I think we did try to get ahead of that on
Yeah.
those forever stamps.
Yes. Postage probably went up quite a bit since he bought it.
They're, yeah, the forevers are a deal. The, mileage and subsistence, I think I took it up 2.5%. Telephone and telegraph actually went down. We're using VoIP phones, voice over internet protocol phones rather than having a phone system. That technology could just plain keeps getting cheaper. If you have DSL, you can use a VoIP phone for nothing, basically.
So can we get rid of the telegraph service and just have it be
Oh,
telephone?
no, you have no respect for tradition and history. Yeah, call it
Mark's
telephone.
new and he's calling me up at midnight asking me all these
Yeah,
questions.
call it
I'm trying
telephone.
to avoid those.
Telegraph or the telephone is he calling you? The dial?
Yeah, yeah, get rid of the
We don't have
telegraph.
dial
I
tone
agree.
anymore, the Rotary
agree.
phones, pay phones.
Legal and court ordered services, we spent nothing last year, nothing this year. I left that at 2,000. Office data expense, we keep going down. It was at 7. 2 years ago, it went to 6. Last year went to 5. I've cut that to 4,500. I think I'm going to reduce that some more. I have some new protocols in place where I've eliminated a lot of software that we used to buy. Contract, pardon?
One sec, the legal and court related services, there are 2 lines in that. That 501 and 502, what's the deal on that?
I don't know, Madam Auditor. What is that?
Well, it's cut off, but they're 2 different types of services. I'd have to go up and look and see what the extension is, but
But we
I know.
should get rid of the 2,000 in there if it's
Well,
been 0 the last 2
I
years.
think we keep track of juvenile fees separately because those are subject to reimbursement, are they not?
I believe so. Yeah, I'd have to go look at what the extension is, but they're 2 different expenses. I just don't know what they are by looking at this.
Or lower the hours. Hasn't mattered for the last couple of years.
Sure, why not? Why not? Yeah. It all adds up at the end. One thing that is not in the revenue, each year we give a cost accounting calculation, which is passed on to the Department of Human Services, Department of HHS, Health and Human Services. They write a check to the county for a share of the county attorney expense for services that we provide to and on behalf of HHS. So I don't think that needs to be in there, but it's just awareness thing. That's part of why we very line by line keep track of all the juvenile stuff separate. What is that reimbursement check? Do you even know?
Not off the top of my
$1 million?
head.
I don't.
Yeah, something.
No,
like
I think
that.
it's like 15, 20 grand.
Yeah, so when you guys approve that cost advisory report, those attorney
Yeah,
fees
that's
are
on
part of
that
that as
thing,
well.
So there is a reason why we segregate juvenile expenses, why we keep track of that type separately. Contract services, you know what, that can go down again too. It's 36 a few years ago. I took it to 32, now 31. Take it to 30,000 even.
So is
should
that the
cover it.
Jim Mullen bills we get?
That would be for that type of thing, manipulation of data, audio. That's changed a lot over the years. Since the advent of car video, camera video, we deal with a half a dozen different formats from different police departments. All of those companies have their own proprietary software that they want you to pay them in order to utilize their product. We take all of that video, and sometimes on an OWI arrest, there's 3-4 hours of video. Multiple officers, a couple of cars, processing video, the OWI. We take all that video and we scrunch it, take the video out. The files contain extraneous data like how fast the car is moving, all that sort of stuff. And then put it into a standard format, either Apple or Microsoft. That has grown from not even existing 10 years ago to be a real primary thing. The other thing would be preparation of large court exhibits. At the last trial, we have some big posters that we use. We got a poster printer, used to outsource those. We make those all in-house now. So it's changed a lot. I see that as problematic if I could get every police department, the sheriff's office, and the county to use the same system. We won't have to hardly do any of that, but they don't. And I've not had any luck talking to them. And I know I just heard the sheriff's going with a new Motorola system. Even more complex.
I know their body cams are the Motorola now.
Their car cams, as I understand, the new Motorola system has left, right, front, back cameras, going to do optical character recognition. It's going to keep track of license plates. Deputy drives around, they can tell you where plate ABC 123 was at 1 a.m. Knowing Motorola, it'll be a proprietary package. It'll be all packed into one, and we'll crack it. I haven't got a video file yet that I didn't figure out how to crack. But some counties, very few have gone to what I think is a very difficult position. They just say, hey, defense lawyer, you want that stuff, go contact the agency. And they're dealing with multiple police departments, multiple formats, doesn't work very well. I have a constitutional duty to produce evidence that might be helpful to the defense. So we package everything up and give them a DVD or online, they can drop it. We used to charge for that. I don't know, Gene, $5, $6.
Something like that.
Well, it took more bookkeeping than it was worth. Keep track of hundreds of these files and who's paid their $6 so we quit charging for it. I think our system works better. I know we get a lot of compliments from lawyers out of Des Moines who say they don't get that kind of thing from most counties. So it is what it is, and we'll continue to have more and more video and more stuff. The second page,
Back up on that.
I'm sorry.
I've got a question. I see your group health insurance, you jumped that up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason for that?
well, I don't want to get into specifics on an employee
Is it just
situation.
change of
And
plans or numbers of family?
Can I tell you privately?
Okay,
When you discuss employees' health insurance elections, you know, you get into issues of, well, maybe we should just hire people who are really healthy. Or maybe hire people that don't have spouses. Or how about this, hire people that don't have kids, and if they have kids, not 5 of them. I mean, it's,
well, I didn't want any names.
I know. It had what's the phrase when you can elect something different?
Yeah, just employee chose a plan that wasn't budgeted in the
Okay,
previous
that's
year.
fine. That's all I need to know.
But
They switch their status. It's fine.
Yeah.
Or switch status.
it was a life change event.
Okay.
That I think was understandable. I just don't want to.
No, that's all.
If I had 200 people working for me, I'd give you a generic description and then you really wouldn't know who it is. But if I tell you.
You explained it.
Okay. I've explained it.
I just
I'm
want- I
not gonna
just
answer
wanna
your
know
question, I guess.
Why there was a big change.
Yeah. Well, when you go from 0 to a family plan, that's a big increase.
Yeah.
That's mathematics there. Hypers stayed the same, did it not, percentage wise? Sheriff went up,
I think they're all the same.
all the same?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that is whatever it is. Miscellaneous expense, budgeted 35,000 last year. What that was, including the tables, because I wanted to have budgetary authority to pay the tables. I have almost all of the table expense already collected as a donation to the county. So if or when they ever fix the 2 tables and send us a bill, I will bring a donation check to the treasurer and you can pay a like amount to the company, whatever they're.
CTI.
Yeah. And I think that was a healthy exercise on my part. I think the legal community should have a little skin in the game.
Thanks.
And the comments I've heard so far, worth every penny. It just changes the whole dynamic. However, we have that trip hazard.
Okay, the wall is gone. The floor has not been reduced. It's less than 1/8 of an inch, but it is still on target.
I'm gonna order some JB Weld epoxy off of
It has been-
Amazon. I'm just.
It's coming up later in the meeting. We're still getting quotes for painting and flooring downstairs. That will be
It'd just-
included in it.
It'd be really easy, really easy.
Or we could put a wall back and fill it.
No, you put that wall back and
All
you and
right.
I are gonna come to fisticuffs. Second page, I don't even know what that general basic, general supplemental, that's how you divide things up again differently. I don't even know what that is.
Just a breakdown.
Was that a couple years ago when the state capped the general fund levy? So then you moved allowable things to the supplemental,
Correct.
so the Carroll County remained.
Yeah,
uh,
so
good.
you, jail, sheriff, ambulance, your FICA and IPERS comes out of supplemental. Because your
House File 718.
service, well, no, this was before that. Your service area one, like protected class,
Yeah,
an example. So anyway, yes.
I know there's a different part. But
Yeah, we do that just to
Anyway.
spread the expense around.
Gentleman and lady, anything else?
So the changes, we're gonna change the one to judicial branch fees. And the office expense copies rent is gonna be occupancy expense. And we're
Uh,
getting rid of,
So, somebody to let me, you've got an auditor's book.
Yeah.
With suggested
He
names.
said we're gonna change
Yeah.
people, what, her.
Yeah.
what-
I like to do something that the annual audit people like.
and get rid of the word
Um,
telegraph.
Legal and court-related services.
I might try to find a way to abbreviate that. So when we run that report, it maybe will say juvenile, or maybe put juvenile first or something. So,
Okay.
because otherwise we're gonna ask the question again next
Juvenile
year.
fees we need to segregate.
Yep, yep.
Absolutely. Otherwise, because that's a reimbursement. item. So reduce $2,500 off of legal and court-related services and investigative, taking one from 31,500 to 30 and the other one from 2,000 to 1,000. I guesstimate that with the revenue increase to 45,000, that even with that health insurance claim, that we're gonna be well under 2.5% increase overall. Although I never really, the sum of the parts is the whole. I don't really, that's you guys' job to figure that out. So any more questions for me? If you'd like to join us at 10 o'clock for a motion for new trial on a major case and listen to a litany of the 12,000 things that I did wrong and violated that man's rights. 10 o'clock upstairs.
Want to borrow my button?
Now that's too funny. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
If we're out here by 10, I'll come up.
Thank you, John.
That's all I'm saying, thanks.
Item number 2, Veterans Affairs Fiscal 26 Budget Review. Tonya. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you guys want to please do introductions? We've got a new member and then we can go around the horn also.
My name's Tonya Lees. I'm the administrator for the Veterans Affairs Office, and with me is my chair commissioner, Jim Bregerman.
Mike Anderson.
Stephanie.
Scott Johnson.
Gene Miners.
Mark McCray. Nice to meet you.
So I'm handing out some documents, but I'll bring those up later on. So we just had, besides the normal things like the salary, FICA, IFRS, and employee insurance. We only had one other change. Do you want me to go through all the lines or just the changes?
You know what, if there's any descriptions that would better describe what items go into or come out of those funds, that would be nice, but does anybody, well, we should go through each one. Let's do that. Because some of them, there hasn't been a whole lot of spending and maybe we could knock some of them down.
Okay, so for the salaries, we proposed the $50,867. That's with the 2.5 increase. For the FICA, it's $3,892. For IFRS, $4,802. And then for the employee group insurance, we had 11,737. That's with the proposed possible 4% increase. For the Veterans Affairs Commission, we have $2,500. And then general office supplies, $750. Employee mileage and substitute is $500. Telephone and telegraph, that's $1,500. For educational and training, we would propose another $1,000 to make it $3,000. And the only reason that we're changing that is there's a document that we just handed out. There was a new House File 2663 that was passed last July. So it's the Iowa Department of Veterans Affairs travel reimbursement policy that you guys got, that single one. And so when they passed this, policy or House file in July, what that does is it was giving all the counties an extra $3,000 for allocation for education. And that has to be like our national training that we do every year. And that any type of training that you pay for that you receive CEUs, the county will reimburse, or the state will reimburse the county. So this looks a lot different than from the $10,000 that we get from the state every year for allocation, because normally we just get a check for that. This, we would have to print off the agenda, send in the receipts, fill out a form with the Iowa Department of Veterans Affairs. I send that in, and then they would send a check to Courtney to reimburse the county. So basically that extra 3,000 that extra 1,000 that we're gonna put in, that we were asking, would always stay in that line. So I do national training every year. It's $500. They do have virtual, which I usually do. That way I can still answer my phone calls, emails, and that kind of thing. But then, if I do like fall training in Des Moines, that has some CEUs that cost. So we're gonna put all that in there. And then looking forward, we want to use the rest of that money for like the commissioners training and all that other trainings that I do that we might not get CEUs for, but the reason for that is because we want to free up some of that money from that $10,000 allocation. Due to our newsletter that we put out, it's 8 pages. We send out twice a year. It's our biggest outreach. That has gone up in price as everything else. So it used to be $1,300.12 for a colored copy of a newsletter. It's now gone up to $1,793. And then the black and white is $1,305. So we just want to free up a little bit more of that application money so we can keep putting out those newsletters, because the veterans just, they look forward to that. We make that newsletter specific to the Carroll County veterans, and it brings in a lot of people, a lot of phone calls. So that's important to us.
Very good.
Yeah. So that's the reason. So basically I'm estimating probably $1,000 to $1,500 will always stay in that line for education that, I pay for, or the county pays for, and that will be reimbursed for. So. Then of course we have the Veterans Allocation Fund, and that's $10,000. That's, as they tell us every year, that's not always guaranteed, but long as in July, I do a allocation budget report. As long as that gets passed, we get a check. That usually doesn't come till like August. So this year they're going to continue to do that, or the next fiscal year. So for the office equipment and furniture, we have $200. And then we have the general services for the veterans. So for prescription medications, we have $300. Rent payments, we got.
So on that one, you haven't
Yeah.
used that for several years, but you
No.
still need to keep is
So
there a
basi-
possibility it's going to be used?
The only thing, yeah, there's a possibility. We
It
never
means
know.
those things you don't know.
But the thing that in that Iowa code, that chapter 35B, it says that we have to supply so many general assistance for veterans. I don't know. We don't know if we're gonna or not, I
Yeah.
know there hasn't been any.
And maybe what we should do is have you talk to New Opportunities, which administers general assistance now,
Yeah,
and make them aware that you have money for veterans. So it wouldn't come out of the general assistance.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
yeah, I did talk to Roanne. I don't
Oh,
know
you
if it
did?
still does it yet out there, but
No,
she
I think-
is aware, and she'll send some
I think
veterans
it's
to
someone
me.
else.
I think Val Fitzpatrick replaced her, or was it Val Fitzpatrick? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
No,
okay.
who was it, Courtney?
We're still dealing with Roanne.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, I mean, I think you need to work hand in hand on it. If there's a veteran.
Sure, yep. Yeah, so the rent, we have 1,000 in there,
And again, no usage over the last couple of years.
right?
That's where them and general assistance ought to work together.
And granted, when someone does apply for, I just want to give you a rundown for general assistance, we usually have them fill out an application. And then they have to be in that 200% low income. And then I have to get permission from my commissioners. And then I have to contact, one of you guys to make the approval. So that's kind of how that works. For utilities, we had $300. We did help a veteran. Probably been a couple years since with some utilities. Funeral services, we have $900. So basically that's just the opening and closing of a grave. So, and we did do that last year or the year before. Here, let's see. Yeah. I think that was last year we used that because we had 500. It was 2022, 2023 we did. So, motor vehicle equipment, we have $300
I
there.
skipped over grave markers, I think.
I'm sorry.
Grade markers.
Grave markers.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
skipped over it.
I did
But
skip
it looks,
over
well, it looks like you might have enough for this year already by,
Yeah, so we have 200 or
2,000.
2,000 in there, so. Yeah, I think we'll be okay with that
all right.
right now. Then the agricultural, horticultural, so that basically that's for the grave maintenance in these small church cemeteries that don't charge perpetual care. I did just hand you guys the updated version of the Iowa Code. Chapter 35B, they did make a change in that last July. So on the front page, if you go down to 35B.17, maintenance of graves was repealed in 2024. So they no longer, the county is not responsible to mow these and take care of these graves if we don't want to. The commissioners and I want to continue to do that upon your guys' approval. So that's the $3,700. So
Why did the state repeal that?
I don't know.
I wonder what the rationale behind that was.
Yeah, because I don't think that's right either.
You want to keep them up and make them look nice.
Yeah.
You want to keep them looking nice,
Well, I think, yeah.
just out of respect.
I
for
just
the-
think, yeah,
that's
it's out of
just
respect and
exactly what I
honor
was
the
gonna say, Out of
veteran.
respect
Just
for
out of
their
respect for
service.
our veterans, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's $3,220 last year. So yeah, I see no reason to eliminate that.
okay. So that's all I have for the budget. I did want to tell you guys about another change in that Iowa code, just so you guys are aware. On page 3 at the on the top, upon hiring a administrator or a director for the Veterans Affairs Office, not only do you have to get accredited, nationally accredited within the first year of employment, but you also have to get your PIV card with personal identification card. So what that entails is 10 tests, 10 classes, background check. The auditor has to fill out a paper, verify that you work for the county. Then you get fingerprinted twice, and all that has to be done down at the federal building in Des Moines. And then you get this identification card. And so what that is that gives you access to go into the veterans with their permission, their federal government records. So I could see from the time they go into service until the time they get out. I can follow their claims. I can look at their service treatment records. I use it all the time, every day. So I've had mine since November 2022. So I just want you guys to be aware that that's something new also. 5 years. Yep.
So you've got that all in place then?
Yeah,
So-
I have that done.
It's a very
Thanks.
useful tool.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So even like the letters the VA sends out to the veterans, I see that before they even get that in the mail. So I can call them and give them the update or, yeah, so,
Very nice.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I don't, but thank you for everything you
Yeah,
guys do.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Jim,
you.
for coming along. Thank
Yep.
you. Okay, item number 3, fiscal year 26 county employee health insurance renewal. I see Clark is not here yet.
I told him around 10 o'clock.
So then do we want to go ahead and do we want to start the ambulance or do and do items 5 through
You said
8?
10 o'clock? I'd say. you do the-
25 minutes. What do you think?
That's good. What do you got? I can speak through 5 as well.
We've got everything. You probably could have just said, hey, step on up. We'll put number,
Did you drive by? Yeah, here yesterday.
we'll
Got
put number
here
4.
yesterday.
We will advance to number 4. And Jamie,
Good morning, Jamie.
would you like to introduce yourself? And we can go around the horn. We have a new member this
All
year.
right, Jamie Webker, the Director of Carroll County Ambulance.
Mike Henry. Nice to meet you.
Stephanie, nice to meet you.
Scott Johnson, nice to meet you.
Gene Miners.
Mark McCray. Nice to
Well,
meet you.
It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Hopefully you all enjoyed your time spent reading if you chose to. I guess how I've been doing it is I send a proposal with explanations and I kind of go down that. It follows the budget that Courtney sends you as far as the lines go. For the most part, I do have the FICA and IFRS up further than what she does, but we can just start at the top rather than jumping around if that's all right with everybody.
Please do.
So the ambulance services, so this is the revenue that the Carroll County ambulance brings in yearly. Like I put in here, it's been consistently right around 1.1 million. Last year was 1.4. This year we've got approximately 767,000 already. So I'm looking for it to be over the 1.4 for fiscal year 25. But that can change from year to year. I'd be more than happy to up that amount if you'd want. But I think the number doesn't necessarily have a real meaning. I mean, it shows you what you're bringing in, but to watch it for another year wouldn't be a bad idea either, just to see. But I think we have some room to.
So you can take it from 1,050,000 to 1,400,000.
So we could, I mean, the thing is if, say, next year, call volume's down or
Right.
reimbursement's down, then it's gonna be over what is projected. So
I personally feel like we should up that a little bit. It's
So do I.
been there's 1,568,000 and then there's 1,441,000. I think you go up a couple $100,000.
And it's not a sin if you have to do a budget amendment that shows your revenue may not hit the target.
You go like 200,000. Which is kind of split the difference on it.
yep, I'm expecting things to stay pretty steady at the 1.4 to 1.6.
So why wouldn't we just
We'll go
1.5?
1.5. Yeah,
4.4.
1.5. I mean, if a revenue falls short, jail fell short a couple years ago. It's not the end of the world, but as far as coming up with the accurate budget at the end, I think we should have what?
When we beat it in the middle, 1.3, and then we can up it again next
Okay.
year.
Everyone good at that?
I'm fine with
Yep.
1.3.
Is there any additional questions or comments?
And well, this, before we get to GEMT, but most of this 1.3 comes from insurance company, Medicaid and
Yep.
private pay,
Private pay,
Yeah.
yeah, the insurance companies.
which is separate than what GEMT goes after.
This, as of right now, from what I understand, GEMT is in this amount. I know when the auditing was done, the state auditors came in, they want it separated. Even before they requested that, I had, so the Central Square is a company we use for our billing. I had them build so we have the capability of running specific insurance companies or specific years. So we can pull that information at any time. So that way we can start doing it every quarter or however Courtney would like, or the auditors would like us to do that, but.
And that's the reason why I think every time I turn around and ask you, is this GMT working? Is because that revenue's in there and that I understand that.
Yeah, and I have it all later on. I have it all separated out for what we're actually bringing in from GMT.
Explain that to Mark tomorrow too.
What's that, the GM?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a,
Bill collection
What does that
agency.
stand for?
Ground emergency medical transport.
Okay.
it's a company we implemented.
Yep.
We pay, they get a percentage of what they
Started
recover.
pursuing it in 20. They take the numbers from 21 and we start getting reimbursed in 20 roughly.
We pay this
20.
company to do this, to go after more.
Oh, my.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
That's good.
And we've been watching it. We watch it very closely because we want to make sure it's beneficial. But it has been.
Yes.
So.
You might want to explain to Mark the difference of what we get return on our billing versus like, private pay.
You guys can do that
insurance.
tomorrow.
We could do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow.
but I think it's not all bad for the public to
It's up to
understand
you.
that too.
Oh,
you
You
know,
want him to explain it now?
I think so. That way the public can
Okay.
Well, with
know
GMT,
some of the things we're up against here.
like the reimbursement rates,
Yes.
they're pretty actually straight across the board, roughly 35 to 40% of what we bill. So
And your billing is on $16 per loaded mile,
it's $1,000 base and then $15 per loaded mile.
15 per loaded
Yeah.
mile. Okay.
So we actually get the base, the reimbursement on that is pretty poor. It's the mileage. So essentially, the further we go, the better reimbursement it is, just based on what they reimburse for the miles. But on average, and it's pretty across the board, most of them are about 35 to 40%. I know VA was generally almost 100%, but I know they just changed some things last year where that's not going to be the case anymore. But we haven't had a whole lot of those come through, so it's hard to say what it's going to be.
So 35 to 40% is that what they want to pay in this company goes after that 35 to 40%?
No, the GMT is separate from that. So on top, so Medicaid is probably the poorest. I'm giving as far as reimbursement goes. What I'm giving is like a general
Okay.
for all of them. I would say Medicaid is closer to the 28 to 30% reimbursement. So GEMT supplements that as long as they have a specific, there's 4 insurances that they will supplement that with GEMT funds. But it varies from year to year. So there was a year when we had $775 per call on top of what we would get from the actual insurance company. This for fiscal year 25, we're getting reimbursed $858. And then next year is projected to be about 957, I think it was. So, and with that, so with fiscal year 26, and we'll get into this a little bit later too, we're getting reimbursed more with the GEMT. So our costs are also higher. Ultimately, if you look at it, the big picture, it pretty much all evens out. So it all is dependent on the number of calls that we transport that have those 4 specific insurance companies. But there's a whole lot more to it, but that's just as.
Yeah, that was a good overview. though.
Yeah.
It was.
Good, thank you.
And if you have any questions on it tomorrow when we meet, I'll be more than happy to go over it with you,
Thanks.
but our average total without expenses taken out since we've been getting it, it's about 186,000 or a little over 186,000. But I know in the spreadsheet that I gave, it didn't show that there was anything put into it. That's because it's put back into our overall revenues, where that's going to change from what I understand. It's all going to be kind of separated out so the state wants to know what you're getting, which I can show them at any time they call. I keep track of it also. Any questions on the GMT? Okay. Miscellaneous reimbursements. Those are things like I explained on here where like for RAGBRAI, the city of Carroll reimbursed us for some of our labor, or our salaries. The state grants that I get, the money I buy the stuff that we expect to get from the state grant out of our budget lines, and then it gets reimbursed. I have Courtney put it into this miscellaneous fund. If we were to sell a piece of equipment or something, it would.
Golf cart,
What's that?
a golf cart.
Well, that was donated,
Oh.
but yeah, it's similar to that.
Yeah.
They've sold, like if we put an ambulance completely out of service, if they sell it, it goes into that budget line. So that's, it's not something that can be predicted from year to year for the most part. Vehicle capital. I have it projected out for the next 3 ambulances, what the anticipated costs are, and I feel is adding another 8,000 to that amount each fiscal year. And then with lead times, most of them are over 2 years. So we know 1 to 2 fiscal years in advance what that ambulance is going to cost us. So the way we have it figured out now with the ambulance that was totaled, the reimbursement we got from the insurance company on that, using this amount, we should be good for the next 2 ambulances, including the one we've already got. But if we need to make it a more of a lump sum adjustment in the fiscal year just prior to the 3031 ambulance, then I feel that's more appropriate than budgeting more now and then not necessarily needing it, but eventually down the road, we're gonna need it anyway if things continue to rise as far as the cost of vehicles, but the ambulance that we took possession of in August of 23, just to put it in perspective, the overall cost of it was like 284,000. Just the ambulance itself for the one we're gonna be getting in July of 26, just the ambulance was 302 to 300, it was 304,000. And that doesn't include any equipment or anything, so it's
And to dress them out, typically costs like what? 30,000
what's that, I'm sorry,
No, a couple $100,000.
no, by over 100,000 now,
to dress them out.
so
You're-
the
you're-
So you're
overall.
looking at 400,
$500,000.
Four or
$403,000 for the next ambulance.
Mhm.
With that's basically ambulance and large equipment, like our cardiac monitors, our cots, our power loads, stuff like that.
What's the average life of your ambulances?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Average life, what do you usually get?
So we do it kind of uniquely in Carroll County and it works out well is they start in Carroll and they basically move down the line. We keep 3 in Carroll and then they go out to the 4 satellites. So we keep them for right around 15 years, if not a little bit more. By the time it's, from the time that we get it to the time that it goes out. We like to keep it to where the mileage is under 200,000 when it leaves here. Or leaves Carroll, I'm sorry. That way it still has usable life. So we're not just trading in an ambulance every 3 years on a new one. They stay in Carroll County. And then we pick the one that we predict to be the most costly as far as repairs, and then that one will go. We'll sell it.
15-year depreciation plan.
Basically, yeah. A lot of them will have over 250,000 miles on them by the time they are exiting their services for Carroll County.
How many do you have?
We have a total of 7 right now. Yep. And we've looked at all kinds of different things as far as the new ambulances and, what the cost increases of going out of next year, which this time we are kind of going out another year. But there's other things like doing remounts and stuff that we have in the plans to be cost effective for going forward, which is another reason why maybe the next one we may do like a remount, so we wouldn't need as much funding for it because it's quite a bit
New
cheaper.
chassis if they're.
Yeah. Basically they reuse the existing patient care area and put it on a new chassis, but they do go through the entire thing and repaint it, rewire it and everything. So
Do you have much of I know in the fire department stuff gets up, they have to change it out every 5 years or whatever it is, like your uniform, your gear and all that kind of stuff. You got the same type of thing with the ambulance or?
yeah, and we'll get to that in the
okay.
next one too.
Just curious, okay.
But to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
Any questions on the vehicle capital?
It's just incredible. Over the past 3 years, we've had about 28,000 more a year just because of the
Yep.
cost.
Yep, and it's, when we purchased the ambulance that we took possession of in August. When we were still working on that, I was getting from vendors what they anticipated an increase in. They were all telling me like 10 to 15%. Well, it was well over that. So do I go ask them now and they'll give me 10 to 15%, then it's 40% again, so.
Well, the last one went up 41% compared to the last cost, wasn't it?
Right.
So have you got any updates as far as the delivery? Is it still on schedule?
It's on schedule. We actually meet with the Ron Northwest on the 28th of this month. That's to go over all the specs, to basically finalize everything. But we used to order an ambulance 8 months in advance. Now we have to do it at least 2 years because that's what their lead times are. Some are 3 years lead time, so.
Wasn't this one 26 months?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no kidding. The cots and monitors, kind of the same thing with the vehicles. The price of that stuff's going sky high. The cots, well, the brand that we use as far as our cots and our power loads, it's called Stryker. They've kind of got a monopoly to where you can only buy the new product from them. From the prior ambulance to the next ambulance, the cost of a cot almost doubled. And there's really nothing we can do about it.
On that, Jim, are you putting that on the side? Like how it's a budget 20, spent 20.
So basically, from what I understand after talking with Courtney, is both of these they're the same budget line, but they're separated just for communities keeping track. This gets put into the capital budget and it compounds every year.
But both of them are going capital.
Yes, yep,
You're just upping that because of the rise, the expected cost of run.
right.
So there's a balance in it right now of,
I'd have to look at a different spreadsheet, but
exactly. Yep.
yeah.
Okay,
Do they,
just want to be clear.
do they put that in something to make some money, on a CD or something like that to make some money on that, or is it even worth doing? I'm just asking.
There are CDs. Go ahead. Courtney.
Yeah, it's part of the general, like this is a good treasurer question because she handles the banking,
No,
but short answer would be it's just in a pool of all the county money. It's not separated out separately
But do we,
in the bank.
do we make money on any of that stuff or not?
We make, yeah, we earn interest, but it
Okay.
goes into the general fund.
Sure, no, I'm just asking,
Yeah.
you just let sit in a pool, not do anything, it's just.
Yeah.
A lot of money, thank you.
Then with the equipment, kind of alluding to what you were asking is, we were given a grant, it was a state grant in 2016 for Lucas Devices, so they perform chest compressions, during a code event. Well worth the money, they're now at about $16,000 to $17,000 each. But the expected lifespan of them is approximately 8 years. So we have to look at, we're gonna need to start replacing those. Probably the best way to do it is continue with the capital fund and have the funds available when one essentially dies. There is an option through Stryker to replace them all, and they do all the preventative maintenance, and then they will replace them every 5 years. With the monitors, I had that figured in when I was doing that, when we were figuring out prices for the new ambulance. It amounted to about $127,000 a year. Which for how we do things, I didn't feel was very cost effective. But if we just plan ahead, I mean, we'll be all right. And there may be a chance that we have 2 go down in a year and we may have to do a budget amendment or something to get another one. But, you know, do we absolutely have to have them? I like to say yes, but we can do manual compressions, but then you open yourself up to injury and fatigue and these things, they do the same compression every single time. They're
They're the only way to go.
right. Yep.
Do they go down very often?
We have not had any go down since that I'm aware of from the time that I took over as director. But they battery replacements, which I use grant funds to get batteries replaced. You know, the batteries are, if I remember right, they were like $900 a piece. But they, just because their life expectancy is 8 years doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stop next year on the date that they were manufactured, or this year or whatever. But it's just something to prepare for when, as they start going down, you know. And another thing that we could do is, you know, get a new one started, and then we can pass one of the existing ones off to a first responder agency. Because right now we have 7 of them, one in each transport ambulance. We don't have, like Arcadia doesn't have one, but it's a possibility that, you know, it would be beneficial for them to have one as well. It's just for the number of times it's used and the cost, it's not really cost effective. But if we have the option, we know we need to replace these, we could do like we do with the ambulances, and just start passing them around to the first responder groups.
Good point.
Any more questions on COTS and monitors? I'm past my 5 minutes though, so. Building capital, as it's kind of explained in the sheet I sent you guys, the building, and I started this last year, the building needs an extra overhaul. The steel is original to the building, built in 1980. It was painted, it's about all it's had. The roof is leaking, it's been patched. The nail, as you walk up there, the nails start popping out. The one corner of the building, it's actually ruined the sheetrock on the inside. It needs to be replaced. So last year I started with $50,000 as far as like a capital. And then I just want to continue that. And then hopefully in fiscal year 26, we can get all of that stuff done. But
What line that is?
Yeah, where'd you go to?
so it's included in the overall capital, and I think she has it towards the very end.
Be the
Is it
back of
down-
page 2 towards the bottom.
Yeah. right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's not-
Don't pull out lines like-
You don't hate it.
I wanted to keep all the capital the same. But. With that, there's gonna be, I talked with Dalton on their, like the IT stuff, that the lines that are in there are kind of outdated. When they have the steel off is an ideal time to run the new lines for the computer equipment and stuff like that too, so. Kind of do everything at
We
once.
budgeted 50,000 for this year, right?
So what I intended for it last year, when I asked for it, was 50,000 this year. And then have it in a capital to where it builds on itself.
Yep.
And then that way,
When do we expect it to fix up?
I'm fiscal year 26 is when I'm wanting to get it done, yeah.
Is
So
it
do
gonna
you
cause
want-
Damage waiting too long or not?
We've tried to stop as much damage as we can, but like I said, the more we get up on the roof, the more problems we have.
So are you gonna wanna put 50,000 again this year in there?
Yes, so we would have, after this 50 is in there, we would have a total of $100,000.
That doesn't show. on
Yeah,
the
you have,
warrant.
I've got a question mark on mine.
Cause I couldn't find it either. And then when I asked Courtney about it and she said it's in there and it
It's on the bottom page too.
Yeah, so,
probably just hasn't been put in there.
yeah, so are you saying that you could potentially spend the 100 in fiscal 26 on the building
Right,
out of the capital?
yes.
Are there any other expenses that will come out of capital for either an ambulance or a monitor in 26?
Nothing that is foreseen right now.
Okay,
Actually, the part of buying the newest ambulance, they wanted us, we got a large discount if we paid for the chassis when it arrived to them. So yes, there will be some,
do you know?
approximately 67,000
Okay, so if I did like 70, that should be good, or 75,
as far as the
the down
chassis
payment?
for the,
Yeah,
But that would come out on a motor vehicle capital, right?
yeah, capital, but I didn't show any expenses and just wanted
Oh, I
clarification
see
on
what
that.
you're saying.
That way you have it in there to spend.
right, because we took advantage of doing that with the council, the supervisor's approval, so we could save that, I believe it was $6,000, and then like with some of the monitoring equipment, overall, we could save about 12,000 to 15,000 by paying for a little bit early. Any other questions on that? All right,
So we're putting 50,000 in that building ambulance line again.
right, so
Right
the,
now, it doesn't show
In the line 61,501, we need to add.
50,000.
You're right.
Right now, there's nothing.
No, we're gonna add 100.
You-
Because he got 50 last year or this year. And he's putting another 50 in fiscal 26. And then he wants to make the repairs in fiscal 26. So he has the 100 total.
But he's already got
20.
50.
Not done yet.
right,
Yeah, but he hasn't spent any of that.
Okay.
Are you spending, we put 50 in there in case you guys decided to make repairs in fiscal 25.
the bulk of the repairs is planning for fiscal year 26. However, the roof, I'm gonna try to get done in 25.
So I guess that 100 could be changed depending on what gets spent in 25. Because he's only got 100 to work with. So if he spends 25 of that, the 100 would change to 75 or whatever.
And
That would be left in the capital. for
Yeah.
The building.
Well, for the building. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to.
To me, in my head, there should be a 50,000 other, yeah.
We're budgeting 50,000.
It looks like we did put in 50,000 last year.
What you don't spend this year, if you spend 25, well, 25 into the general fund. And then we'll budget another 50 for next year. That's
so
how
there'll
I
be,
see it.
so be a total of, so the intent was to have 50,000 sitting there at 50,000 fiscal year 26 to do the repairs.
Yes.
If in fiscal year 25, the roof is repaired or replaced. And it costs, well, the estimate I got was 44,000.
Yeah.
So that extra $6,000 will carry over into
Correct.
next year. So, but the intent is to get, instead of doing it all at once, as far as the cost, the cost of the project, try to get enough money set aside to I'll do the roof at once and then do the walls and everything else, the other fund. Once I get estimates for it.
So there- by changing, add 50,000 to the second page.
Yep.
That puts a total 100,000. He replaces the roof out of there. Whatever that cost is comes out, and the rest will be stay in the capital project. for any more future
I
expenses.
totally understand. I'm just saying there should be 50,000.
Yeah, and
It just hasn't been transferred over,
Right.
right?
But yeah, we're under the expenses. I was.
Okay.
yeah, he said
I
he
was-
couldn't find that line. That's
Gotcha. I'm square now.
So we'll put in there for fiscal 26. Additional $50,000 in expenses, and granted, you could have an extra 6 that we might need to change that to 56, depending on what the roof costs. You might have some extra left. And then 75 for the down payment on the new rig.
Right.
Yeah, you're square. We were looking under expenses instead of capital, Jamie.
Yes.
Oh,
Our bad.
We're all
You
good.
could have just pointed and said up one.
yeah,
No. We just,
Okay,
all right.
quit skipping pages on us.
Well, I wanted to keep all the. All right. And I'm going off of this, so if that.
That's
makes
where-
more sense to you. All right, salaries. I basically used what was suggested by the board of supervisors of the 2.5% for the numbers that are in there. That flows all the way down to FICA and IPERS, and I know the number that I had in there, then Courtney had emailed me after the fact saying, this is what I predicted to be. And I said, well, it's kind of a moot point until we get the union negotiations done and everything else. So
So under salaries, regular employee, the
Right.
full time, is that 13 people in that line?
regular employees is 12
12, okay, thank you.
for full-time.
Well,
okay, you said it's 2.5. Why is the salary part-time and the holiday pay, they're more than 2.5?
So how I figure that is depending on hours, that's gonna fluctuate with vacation taken, with sick time. One year I had 3 people out with,
So this is based on fluctuation of hours from
It's-
the last year. Okay,
I have,
but it's based on 2.5 increase.
right.
Okay, that's
Right.
all I need.
Basically, it's all, the union is where I base everything from, and then, so if the union were to go everything on call, then that flows through to the part-time people, where there won't be any duty pay change, so
Okay,
it's just, I have averages from 2021, and that's what I use for those numbers.
all right.
It's more based on hours worked along with
That's all.
the increase in pay. The other question on that portion? Salaries, kind of the same rationale. It's all gonna vary on, because the part-time staff, their pay follows the union staff. So once that's decided, overtime and holiday, there again, I just use an average over since 2021 that I've came up with. And I've got most of the stuff pretty dialed in to where, the first couple of years there's a lot of fluctuations because I didn't know what was happening prior, but I've got these pretty dialed into what they're actually going to cost without any unforeseen circumstances. And then the overtime and holiday, after talking, I think wasn't necessarily Courtney, but there's nothing to do with holiday pay with this. It's all just overtime.
Can we
So
change that description then, Courtney?
and
Thank
then
you.
the FICA and IPERS, just an increase of 43.96 for the FICA and 53.50 for the IPERS. And again, this is going to fluctuate with what happens with the union negotiations and market adjustment. But employee group insurance, with the 4% suggested increase that Courtney sent out, that puts it at 173,000. So that's an additional 13. There's an employee that's gonna be changing their status as far as instead of just employee children. And I'll speak freely, it's gonna be me. I'm getting married in March, so I'll be adding this.
That's too much information. The county attorney didn't go
I-
that far, so you can't either.
By Simpson. I mean,
Yeah. But, so just to give you an idea, if you take that 4% back off, it would be 166,304. Any questions on that? If I'm going too fast now, you just stop. and
No,
ask questions.
I like it.
Fuels, no change. I do see an increase in transfers, but I don't think we need to change the amount. And like I said before, I try to keep these as tight as possible, so there's not a whole lot of wiggle room in them, but with the understanding that if I need to, I'll have to do a budget amendment. Motor vehicle, Again, no change for that. I've got that dialed down to where I know where things should be as long as there's not any unforeseen circumstances like a turbo.
I like the licensed repair facility also.
What's that? I'm
The
sorry.
licensed repair facility.
Right,
Thank
with
you.
the ambulance incident we had, last year. I talked with the insurance company, they just suggested that you have everything done by a licensed repair person or licensed facility, so, that's what we're doing now with everything. The office supplies, no change, medical supplies, I added 2,000 of that. We're adding some additional medications and basically some, skills that we can do to better patient care. So we have to purchase the new medications and sustain them. Uniforms, no change. Postage, no change. Mileage, excuse me, mileage and meals. Like I said before, I anticipate an increase in transfers. This year from last year went up, I believe it was 60 transfers. So I believe that trend's gonna rise. And then I would like to raise the meal reimbursement amount by $1 per timeline that we have.
But when it says mileage in there, what is that? Is it just reimbursement for meals or is it mileage?
So it's, if somebody does some specific training, like when Roxy and I go to the billing conference,
Okay,
we charge mileage. It comes out of the same one,
all right, thank you.
correct? Okay. Phone service. So I added an extra $600 to that. This includes cell phones in the ambulances, TV, internet for the station. And then we're test driving an iPad right now. Kind of the standard is everybody does their patient care reports on iPads if they're not in their facility. And then integrating patient refusal signatures and it's going to reduce paperwork. It's going to reduce space needed to keep the paperwork and reduce time keeping track about everything. So the cost, additional cost is going to be offset by the savings on other parts.
So are you using Telegraph still?
Yeah, no telegraph.
Maybe we should.
Morse
note that.
code is better.
Holy Express.
Education, no change from last year. PCG. So this is the company that monitors and inputs the data for GEMT. When I had a meeting with them, he anticipated it's going to go up a little bit. So that's why I was budgeting for that. But that's generally 15,000 a year. I think last year was like 15,1, but so I've made an increase to that. GEMT, you're going to see an increase of $22,000. And as it's explained in here, with what we're going to be additionally reimbursed for the next fiscal year, it offsets what the cost is. So I'm projecting $130,000 of additional income from GEMT. And like I said, that'll basically offset any additional cost. It fluctuates from year to year. If one goes up, the other one goes up, what we pay in.
So basically they're recovering $506 per call.
Approximately.
That's what I mean, just doing the math that you provided.
Yeah, and it doesn't pertain to every single call that we go on. They have to be transported and they have to have a specific insurance. And it has to meet criteria. Electric, no change. Water, no change. Building maintenance. So what I started last year was like kind of rotation for like beds and chairs and office chairs. So that's just flowing through to this year or the next fiscal year. Radio, no change. We replace, this is kind of the budget line we use for repairs for the radios and the ambulances or getting new pagers. So we've been slowly replacing those every year. Building rental. So essentially where the satellite ambulances are, we pay that town. It depends on the town, but we pay them for costs associated with the ambulance. Something that I put into place, we're having a huge issue with volunteers and people that'll, like in Coon Rapids and Manning, they staff 24/7 essentially. Because their call volume's higher. Templeton and Breda do not. They have about 1/8 of the call volume. So I'm wanting to build on what I started a couple of years ago with a stipend. And the other side of it is with that, the insurance audits found was that if you have somebody that is EMS personnel and fire personnel, they are categorized under workman's comp under fire personnel. So that was found this year in Coon Rapids and Manning. And one person's work comp went from like $300 a year up to over 2,000. So just kind of offsetting that and continuing with the stipend to retain and recruit. And then they have to meet certain stipulations in order to get that stipend. And we were having a huge issue with people writing reports within a timely manner. It's required 24 hours by the state. That has made the late reports go to almost zero, which is a big deal because it can affect, if they're not turned in, we have a statute of limitations for billing. So it could cause a big issue there.
Can we go back up to 44,100 building maintenance and repair? So we have that at 20,000, and the most we've spent is 14. What do we have that for? What do you use that for? What's that line item for?
So it's gonna be for like say the sheetrock, that isn't covered by, well, it is covered by insurance, but it's gonna be under the 10,000. And so generally they say that you have to pay for it yourself. So instances like that. We've had garage doors, that overhead doors, we had to replace all the springs, we had to replace the rollers. Your overall, like your just building maintenance, and it's like batteries, and
Okay.
it's a broad overview of a lot of little things and then some big items.
So from 23 to 24, we up to 2,000, and we. That's $700. Do you foresee using that? Is that something that is lower, or what do you think?
There is, as you'll see with some of the other ones, some of the budget lines aren't really utilized till late in the fiscal year.
Okay.
I know with the building maintenance, I think the average is right around 14,000.
Okay.
But they are utilized later on, like cots and monitors, as we'll get to. The preventive maintenance is done at the end of the fiscal year. So it'll be at zero until probably May. And then it'll be pretty much maxed out. Good. Sanitation, no change. Refunds, we just have $5,000 in there. It's kind of the happy medium. This is another thing that we can't predict from year to year. It just kind of depends on insurance is fighting with us, and then sometimes they'll pay us and then we have to reimburse. Cots and monitors, no change. And maintenance contracts, no change for that. Any questions on those? And then if there's no questions on the ambulance side, we'll move to the medical examiner, which should be short and sweet.
Do we have a copy of them?
Sorry, no.
Huh?
I forgot.
Okay.
Well,
get-
we've
I'll
had
get you one.
50,000 in there. I did up it 2 years ago. Very dependent, and we can't predict it. Like last year, I believe we did a budget amendment for $10,000 and we still went over top of that. In addition to that, there was invoices withheld for being paid from the state for autopsies, because I think it was like $17,000 that came out of fiscal year 25. So
Well, every time there's an unattended death, you've got roughly 1,200 for the transportation down to Ankeny, correct?
it depends on, it's not every unattended death. It's only if they go for autopsy. So with an unattended death, it gets a medical examiner, which is
Which is
$240
yeah.
per person. And then, or for the person doing the exam.
Plus 75.
Yep. So yeah, plus 75 for McFarland, it's Dr. Slattery's side of it. And then that's the kind of the extent of the cost if it doesn't go to the state. If it goes to the state, you have that, plus transportation fees to go to the state, plus transportation there and back, I should say. And then you also have the cost of the autopsy, which generally
Seems
for
like
a pretty-
2,000 is the average.
yeah, for a standard, I would say the average is about $2,100 to $2,200.
And the transportation is roughly 1,250 is what the ones recently have been.
And that, we may go 2 months without sending anybody down for autopsy. We may go a month and send 5. And that's kind of what happened towards the end of fiscal year 24, was that there was just a large number of them towards the end of the fiscal year.
So Courtney, question for you. Would you rather add the 10,000 or perhaps do a budget amendment?
Rather add it because we've done a budget amendment on that every year for the last probably 3 years.
Perfect. Thank you.
So you're saying leave it the same then right now?
I'd say increase it to 60 from
Add
50
the 10,000.
because we've had to amend it every year for at least 3 years. And all that does is pull from reserves. And if we know it's going to be more than that, we should budget for it.
And it may end up coming in under, but the thing is traditionally it's kind of seems to be going up. Unfortunately. That's all I have.
Courtney, you're gonna get us, email us the examiner sheet.
I will.
Additional questions?
So,
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
so for the market adjustment, are we gonna get a separate worksheet on that, Courtney, with those numbers applied to it, or?
I put the numbers in he gave me.
I think we discussed that more towards the end.
Are you talking this one?
Huh?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yep. All right.
All right, Jamie, thank you, and thank you for all you do. Okay, we will go back to item number 4 or 3. Fiscal year 26 county employee health insurance renewal. Mr. Clark Nelson. If you would like to come up and introduce yourself, and we can go around the horn, and you can give us nothing but good news.
There you are.
Are we getting a refund check?
You're getting very close to the punch.
Awesome.
Best as I've been able to provide for a long time.
Should have scheduled him around lunchtime so we could take him to lunch.
He could provide us with lunch.
Oh,
Wait a minute here, what are we saying?
It's on you today. You.
Thank you.
Yep. Nice place you got here.
thank you, Clark. Thanks.
Oh, wow.
Because of who's sitting in the center chair or somebody
Well, a
else?
little bit of both, I guess.
Don't answer that, Clark.
I, Courtney, in the corner.
That's a good place for me. Thanks, Clark.
Yep.
And notice how she's off camera.
Would you rather sit or stand?
I'm probably gonna sit if you don't mind.
Turn that on. Turn that on for you. That's what I was- Pull that. Perfect. Doesn't mean you need to use it all.
I am, so you gotta know what my thought.
Look at that.
Mhm.
You can hang those coats there too. See, that's a good
Say what?
coat hanger there. See?
Yes,
It worked,
the
right?
trim doesn't match though.
All right.
So introductions first, please.
Clark Nelson, Walmart, I'm the account manager for Carroll County, been account manager for several years. Mike Anderson.
Stephanie Hausman.
Scott Johnson.
Gene Miners?
Great. Let's meet everybody. Human faces. Yep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Put together a lot of stuff for you. My glasses on, because some of the stuff, I'll pull out the stuff, all the big part of it in the right-hand column, right-hand pocket. I have some reports to go over. And we'll talk about the renewal, and there's a couple of decisions you guys are gonna have to make. Okay? But this is not my meeting, it's your meeting, so stop me and ask questions as we go, okay? Sound like a plan? This first one here is the current contract you have with us for your stop loss. So this started in 7/1/24. As you can see, we're through the month of December. You just have a handful. I don't know if you can hear me or not, or do I need to speak up?
You're good.
I think mainly you're doing that for the viewing
Okay.
audience.
Okay, well, I won't worry about them too much then. Just let me know if you can't hear me. So you currently have $12,174,000 worth of stop loss credits through the first 6 months, which is still very good. I flip it over to the backside of that page, we talk about claims. The first column is our estimate aggregate deductible. That is your 125% ag coverage that you have, the $1,081,000.
You see right below there, that is subtracting the 25%. So what we expect claims to be is 865 to 534. You're coming in lower than that. You're at 634. There's 639. So there should be a little extra money in the bank account then. The next page is the last contract that just ended, 12/31 of 24. So you can see you had a stop loss credits of 117, almost 118,000. Still very good. Flip it over. You can see claims. We expect to have claims and they're still running very well as well. We expected to have 1.6 million or 1.6 million, yet a little less than 1.3 million. Again, the bank account should show that. Then we also have our annual report. This is what underwriting puts together for us for their time period that they look at your renewal. This is November through October, paid through November. So basically November through November. Second page on the bottom of the page shows you that our benchmark is our block of business. So we compare you to our whole block of business. Page 3, trends are looking good. Only thing that's gone up a little bit is your inpatient stay. But inpatient stay was really low last year. So it went up a little bit. Go to page 4. Again, I'm going to fly through this, so you guys stop me if you got any questions. This is our executive summary. It talks about cost. You can see total claims went down, was 1.4 million, a little over 1.4. Now it's a little less than 1.4. Medical went down, pharmacy went up. I have only had one customer, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years, the pharmacy went down. Always goes up usually. Next page is enrollment. We stayed very consistent, 112 employees last year, 110 this year. Membership went up, went from a little less than 300 members to a little over 300 members. Your average employee age has stayed the same at 46. Look down below, your employees are 55, 45, males and females. You look at total members, it's switched a little bit, it's 52 to 48. Females to males. Everybody lives in the state of Iowa. Page 6. This is always interesting to look at where you see the graph in the middle. Your largest group of people, members, is your school age kids. You got 65 people between the ages of 5 and 18. They always like to point out the people over age 65. So you stayed the same from last year, you still have 9.
Gene.
Scott.
New guy.
The average gonna come down when you quit.
Well, it'll go up next year then. He's not added into this one, I don't think yet. So. Family contracts, you got lots of family contracts. So you have 40% of your contracts are family. And then you have lots of singles. Page 7 talks about network performance. Fantastic job. 100% of all the claims have gone through the network. You saved $1.1 million on our contracts we have with our providers. Fantastic. Page 8 is always interesting to look at. We look at it every year. It talks about claims paid by range. So the first column or the first row, the current column, you have 7.2% of your members use 0 claim dollars, which is quite a bit lower than the benchmark, which is good. There's lots of ACA benefits that are out there that are free. We want them to use it. We want a relationship with your doctor. And the McFarland Clinic probably helps us do that too. So 24 members. You go down to 1,000. I draw a line of between 5,000, 500 and 1,000. 158 members, or 47.5% of your group use less than $1,000. And look to the right there, it equals 3.4% of your total claim dollars.
13.4.
3.4.
Gotcha.
Yes. Then you go down to $5,000. 267 members, or 80% of your group use less than $5,000. which equals 16.3% of your group. So no different than any other group. You have about 20% using around 80% of your claim dollars. 65 members using almost 85% of your claim dollar, 85% of your claim dollars. The next page just basically shows you where I got my numbers from. It shows you the numbers instead of the percentages. I like to go to page 12. Flip a couple pages. It's a graph that shows you spend by age bands. And that squiggly line is where your membership lies. You see the little peak there at the school age kids, and that number is low. You do have a few babies happening. And you do have some those 9 people that are over 65. No surprise, they're driving some claim costs. And I usually go to page 14. Talks about spend. We look at spend a little bit differently now. We look at where categories were diagnosis categories, same age bands. You can see the 0 to 4 OB. OB for the 26 to 35-year-old females. Then you got bones and muscles and ligaments in the 36 to 45 and the 56 to 64 range. But nice thing about it, I don't see a whole lot of nothing on the cancers or anything like that. So things are running well. Then I go forward to page 16. It just talks about inpatient analysis. So OB is driving the inpatient analysis. And then there's some unknown conditions, which is always nice to have the unknown conditions. Page 17 shows me the dollar amounts. So there's some abdominal pain, but most of it's been OB, nose, throat, and lungs. Very good. Page 18, we talk about ER utilization. ER utilization's gone up. You can see prior, we spent a little over $53,000, bless you.
Sorry.
And now we're spending a little over $75,000 worth of ER visits. ER visit pay per claim went from $1,600 to a little over $2,100 per visit. Visits went from 46 to 51. Obviously, they've done a little bit more on their visits than just here and told you to go home. You can see the diagnosis categories over on the right. Stomach issues, some throat issues, pelvic pain. Still not bad. Go to page 20, talk about outpatient. Again, stop me if I'm going too fast. 20 talks about bones, muscle, ligaments, and digestive conditions. 21 shows you some dollar amounts in the as well as the diagnosis categories. So digestive looks like it's driving the boat a little bit. That's you. You learned it. You're making the list. You're making the list. Page 24. Talk about office. You got your PCP, your primary care physicians, and your non-PCP visits shows you the average cost. 175 to almost 275. I highlighted telehealth. You have nobody using telehealth.
Are you seeing that everywhere?
Not
Yes.
really. I've seen some people using more telehealth. Some people promote telehealth a little more too. I've seen some, you guys having a clinic in town really helps. Maybe they're open on Saturdays, I'm sure.
They are.
Sundays.
Yep.
See, that helps. You get some of these small towns that don't have much to do. They kind of promote the telehealth.
Seems like a couple of years ago, you were really trying to push that.
Well, it's a good, it's, you know, we look at the PCP visit for $775, you go to call Doctors on Demand, it's $61. Share that with the member and the county, you know, the county saves money as well as the member does. Member gets a little more convenience too. But it doesn't cover everything. So when you look at, talk about abdominal pain and you know, ulcers, or you got pain in your throat, they're not gonna be able to help you. They're gonna probably send you to the hospital or the doctor or ER. So it's always something you can talk about for sure. I can send Courtney some stuff for that, about that as well. Office, you look at the analysis on 25, I get very little out of this, lots of numbers. Bones, muscles, lots of people. Routine diagnostic, which is good. We talked about having just 24 members using less than no claim dollars. Means we got some people using diagnostic stuff is good. Page 26, the providers. Top facilities is the local hospital. 61 claimants here at St. Anthony's. Nice thing about it, what you don't see here is you don't see Mayo Clinic. And I highlighted on the bottom the practitioners. Must have a pretty popular chiropractor. Though usually I don't see chiropractors make the list, so that's a good sign.
Same thing.
Yeah. So we'll talk about pharmacy. Page 27. Like I said, the claims went up about $30,000, or awfully close to 30,000, a little over 30,000. Paid per prescription, you can see it went from just a little under 100 to 110. So someone's using some little more expensive drugs. Actually, the prescriptions went down about 20. You look it down below, right below that, you see the generic utilization is fantastic, almost 90%. Our block of business a little over 87. There is some specialty meds. When specialty meds went down a little bit from last year, they had 30 prescriptions. This year we'll have 18. The next page, page 29, shows you your top medications that you're being prescribed. I highlighted in yellow all the specialty medications. The first one is Skyrizi. It's a Crohn's medication or psoriasis. Humira is no longer on our formulary. Humira now has a biosimilar, so we're forcing people to use a biosimilar. The ones in pink, any guesses?
Weight loss.
Well, diabetes is right. You have to be have
All the
type.
commercials on TV.
Well, most of those, all you see the jingles probably too, probably.
Yeah.
Several of them are weight loss medications. Some of them are just strictly diabetic medications. You have a couple blood thinners on here. Some
The first one was?
Skyrizi is for Crohn's or psoriasis or, yes.
Is. And a friend whose daughter takes it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, we have some drugs that are on our list that I see that are about $60,000 per prescription. So we're still doing better in some. And we have another Stelara is another one that's going to come off a formulary. It's going to be a biosimilar, but Skyrizi does not have a biosimilar yet. So eventually it will.
When you say biosimilar, is that a generic?
Yes. Generic still costs $2,500, you know, so it's a lot better than 13,000 or 19,000. Any questions regarding the report? We'll go back, go forward a few more pages so you see a large claim summary. Carroll County Law High Cost Claimant. Here. No, looks like this. Get rid of the glossary. This is what underwriting provides. This is claims that are over 10,000. So then they tell us, they give us some estimates of what they expect going on in the future. You can see the relationship, well, this first page is lots of spouses, lots of dependents. My little chicken scratches up on top is 10,000. They expect a group your size to have 26. You currently have 35 on this list. Last year you had 39. The year before that you had 35. Your stop loss level is 50,000. They expect to have 5. You currently only have 2. You had 3 last year and you had 10 the year before. So just a couple claims that they're looking at that I know that are going to anticipate going forward. The one's a medication there. Must be for psoriasis, dermatology. Probably that Skyrizi. They know they're going to spend $50,000 to $100,000 on that next year. Some anti-inflammatories. And you go forward to a black and white large claim report. Same thing, the same time frame, just gives you different, gives you a little more diagnosis categories. The NA is for a medication.
Which page, on Clark, 1 of 13, or which one?
Yes,
Okay.
1 of 13.
Thank you.
Black and white. So still the spouses independence. This gives you some diagnosis categories. But again, you only have a couple of them that are over your $50,000 stop loss. And then go through those 13 pages, go to the next one, which is basically the current, this is just the current year. I subtracted some of the months. Just to kind of see what's happened in 24 through November. So you can see the spouse, the drug is basically, you know, almost $79,000. Then you have a child using a medication too. Driving some costs. Those were 2 of your large claims are all medications. We should see an impact in that next year because as of January 1st, we got a new contract with our PBM CVS. That's going to give us some additional discounts. We're going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute. Go forward till you see this page. Talks about the renewal. This talks about your trends. As you can see, when I highlighted the drug I told you about CVS, they lowered our estimated trend for our drugs to less than 5%, where it was before like 10 to 11. It's because of the discounts we're going to receive. And you see this little renewal comparison, my little email to myself. Just shows you what happened with the renewal current rates, what's going to happen with the renewal. Admin's gone up, everybody gets the same rate. So you're getting $53 per person per month. PBM rates stay the same. Your network access fee actually dropped a couple pennies. So total admin went up 3.55%. Stop loss went up 4.10%. And that's very good for us because our trend is running about 16 to 17%. You guys have been on 50,000 for several years. So when I said talk about trend, our medical trend is about 8%. And our stop loss trend is about 16%, just because that 50,000 becomes easier and easier to get to. Every year it becomes easier and easier to get to because of medical trend. So that's one thing we want to talk about is maybe looking at raising your stop loss limits. So you can see your estimated claims running at 72%. We talked about that earlier. So you're getting a reduction in your actual expected claims. So you're getting a total increase in suggested rates of 0.58%. Is that good or bad? Not a zero.
Not zero, but
I
it's.
think last year it was very similar, and I think the county
Yeah.
went ahead and did not pass that on.
I'm guessing you're probably gonna do the similar stuff too, because we don't want to have final rates for a couple more months. But the way claims are running at 72%, I'd be shocked if claims get adjusted. And stop loss only having one or two people over stop loss. I'd be shocked if we make any increase to their final rates.
Some of the boards I've sat on, that's a lot worse than this,
Oh, yes.
a lot worse.
I had lots of renewals in 24 that were not very good. So this is my first one. It's a good one. So one of the people want to start the trend right.
So Courtney, just doing the math, last year, I think you said we spent 1,175,000. So 0.58% of that isn't much more than $6,000. If I'm doing the math right, that's good news.
Most of that's fixed cost. All of it's fixed cost, basically.
Thanks, Bart.
Are you saying there's something in the water here?
Hey, you're doing it right. Whatever it is, you're doing it right. So here's your rate sheets. The three plants. Well, we had a member that was using the HSA plan. I'm surprised they actually gave it to you. They might take it away because there's nobody on there.
Which one's stuff that?
Well, there's just, so if you set them out in front of you.
There's three rate pages. There's a $7,500, $7,500, $750 deductible and a $1,500 deductible. And then there's an HSA plan. One of the,
Zero. The higher deductible, there is 20 total. Low deductible, there's 94 total. So now when you go to, okay, walking through this, when you go, let's look at the 750, the 1,500. You go down to the bottom. And it says single family, spouse, children, et cetera, et cetera. Do you look at the estimated suggested rate? Is that what we charge per? Or is that suggested?
that's what we suggest you to do. So actually this year and last year, we went up a little bit slightly and you guys kept them the same. It all depends on your bank account, if you can absorb a little bit of that money, and you obviously have been able to do that. We set those rates just so we set the 125% ag level.
Okay.
So then if you go over 100 or 25% above what we expect, we eat those claims. So that insurance doesn't cost you too much. But what does cost you the 50,000, you see the $410. And I would talk to you about, maybe we should look at raising that. So if you guys are a fully insured group, your pooling level would be 75,000. We don't offer 50,000 any longer. Just because that number keeps getting absorbently high. So when you look over on the right-hand side of that, where you, well, here, you look at the right-hand side of that, you see the 452,000, then you gotta add the next one in there too, so another 100,000, so it's $562,000 you spent on stop loss premium. And you currently had, your last contract had $117,000 of stop loss credits. But a few years ago, you had a lot more credits. So you're running pretty well. So what we do is let's go to the next page. Take those 3 pages, we'll take them off the side. And I ran you some alternates for stop loss. So you'll see that I highlighted, it'll say $60,000. So I ran you.
Which page are you on?
Let's keep going like 4 pages forward, and it should say $60,000 highlighted. Right here in the middle of the page, 60,000.
Got it. Thank you.
There should be 2 pages of 60,000, 2 pages of 75,000, 2 pages of 100,000.
Oh,
Yours wasn't highlighted?
No, mine
No.
would be there. That's okay.
Well, yeah.
I got it.
So I was in the office yesterday apparently as well, so maybe I forgot, sorry. So you see your rate went from 410 to 344. You go to 75,000, it goes from 410 to 275. You go to 100,000, it goes from 410 to 206. And you see the next page, I got some chicken scratches here. Talks about your renewal, your rate, your annual premium. So you save $85,000 if you switch to 60,000 in premium. So what we do is we take those dollars and move them to claims. Because you're gonna be paying $10,000 extra for each one of those claims before it hits stop loss level. But right now you only have 2 claims. So that'd be 20,000 and you're gonna save $85,000 worth of premium. So then if you had, you know, are you gonna stay at 2 claims? That's the magic question. My guess you're not gonna go too much, but it all depends on your bank account too. Courtney has a little bit of extra money in your claims bank account. Might want to shift some of that risk to your claims bank account. Instead of you pay us the premium. If you don't hit it, you don't get it. Or if you don't pay your claims, like we expect your claims to be at 100%, you're at 73%. She gets to keep that money. That just moves more money to the pile. You're still protected by that 125% ag. If you have a really bad year, you'd pay an extra $10,000 on 10 claims, be $100,000 extra you pay on claims, and you're saving $85,000 of premium. So you just move it over to your claim side and you pay another 15 grand. So at 75,000, you save $184,000 worth of premium. But again, you move the $25,000 down to your claim level. Follow. So I would say at a minimum, you probably should move to 60. If not, move to 75. 100 just to show you what you could be. That's a big jump from going 50 to 100.
Is that something you need to know today?
No. We'll just need to know when we get final rates. You decide you want to do it, we'll get you a rate page that shows you this, and that way she'll sign those. You guys approve those at that time. Just something you guys can talk about. So let's go back to those rate pages real fast. Another thing we want to talk about. Actually, let's pull out your folder and go to your left side of your folder.
Start doing pros on my space.
There's no one even asked a question or on your rate page. When you look at the rate page, you look at that rate page with 50,000. You didn't know when they asked a question about the red mark in the middle of that
I seen
page.
it.
You saw that?
I thought you were gonna explain it to us.
I'm gonna explain it. You got an option,
All right here.
$100 credit.
Oh, gotcha.
So today you get rebates for those large drugs. So you look on the right-hand side, there's kind of a Carroll County rebate page. You look at the back page, and it shows you per quarter. Shows you 22 and 23, gives you an estimate of what you did for claims, for rebates. So in the past, you were getting over $120 per member per month rebate. But with Humira coming off of the formulary, moving to the rebates to get reduced. So now you're right at $99, $100, $86 per member per month or per quarter on rebates. So you're right about where you should make that decision. You should do that or not. So the question is, do you want your money there each month at $100? Or do you want to wait to get your money when you get the rebates? With your bank account being the way it is, maybe you just go ahead and wait. I don't know. I've had a handful of groups that have taken the credit, have a handful of them that said, no, they don't want to take the credit. They just want to get the rebates when they get the rebates. Now, in the past, we knew that you took Humira. We threw a prescription in the bucket, and then we get the rebates for Humira, and we divide those out by the number of prescriptions. Well, now we know when your prescription for, say, Stelara or Skyrizi, when you get that prescription at a certain time frame, we know that this is the rebate, say $3,500. Next month, it might be $3,200. Depends on the pharmacy, the manufacturer. We're gonna know exactly what we're gonna pay you. We're gonna pay you exactly what you deserve. So it might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less than what you're getting in the past. All I know is it's gonna take a little bit longer. So instead of getting your rebates every quarter, the first one might be 5 months before you get your first rebate. And today you probably just take your rebates, put it in your bank account. Right? This goes in your billing. It all depends on what you want. If you need, some groups want their money today, right now. And some groups want to make sure they don't want to get screwed. They want to get their money that they deserve or not.
With the amount of money we got in our account, I don't know why we just don't wait.
I like the way we do it now.
Huh?
I like the way we do it now.
Just waiting.
Mhm.
I've had some groups where that report shows $40, $50 instead of $96, then it makes sense to maybe just take the $100 because you're gonna win. Because maybe they're really healthy, they don't use them. But you guys are right at that threshold that's like, flip a coin or just get what you deserve, get what you pay for. Again, you don't need to let me know that now, just let me know at the end. And we're supposed to get better reporting too, so maybe we'll have some more reports by then too. Because this next page just kind of shows you your pharmacy rebates per year. And you're getting. You got like $80,000 worth of start, or about $120,000 worth of 24 credits. And your admin credit would have been 136,000. And my next report is Prudent RX. Says it right on the front of the page, Prudent RX. These are the drugs that are taking that go through Prudent that helps us subtract those dollars from those copay cards. So whatever dollars we subtract, Prudent gets 20% of that fee for a fee. So you can see that you've saved $3,700. They got $740. You guys saved $3,000. And the member gets the drug for free. Questions? And one other thing I have to go through is the total care funding estimate. You guys are probably gonna continue doing that. It seems like you've had some really good luck with that. Working with the Farland Clinic. So that's estimated annual cost of about $2,500 to $3,500. And your dental renewals at the last page. You're getting more increase on your dental than you are in your medical. You're getting 2% on your dental. So must not be using fluoride in your water, I haven't got the vision yet, so I will get that one to you. Questions? Lots of good news.
That's very good.
You guys are running well. All I would say is probably have a conversation. If you want me to come back, talk about stop loss, we can talk about stop loss and just talk about that. But I think that would be a thing that you might want to do. Even if you have a bad year where you have 7 large claims, you're still better off using your claim fund instead of your stop loss premium, in my opinion.
And you said we're the first customer you've had where you gave good news to?
Yes, I've given, last year I had several of them in the mid-20s. Yes, that's hard pill to swallow.
Do you guys have a property insurance division?
We do not. I don't think anybody wants to get in that business right now.
Well, thank you. That was definitely good news.
Yeah,
And
we-
thanks for going into the weeds a little bit and explaining it to
problem.
us.
If you have questions, I'll be happy to come back or answer them through reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item number 5, appoint Carroll County zoning commissioner. Gene had mentioned he would like to have somebody from one of the unincorporated areas, and we did get,
Let's clarify, unincorporated
I'm sorry,
villages or
yes, town,
communities.
yes. And we did get an application. I think we all received it from Kelly Foley. So I think, other than the ambulance board, that is our last appointment, Courtney, isn't it? Will that list be complete after? Kelly folded.
My sheet's upstairs. I was thinking there was another zoning one. Maybe not.
I think that
Janelle-
we were gonna allow. that.
Janelle Schreck decided to stay on, and Katie, this is replacing Katie Holtz.
Well, and that 2 mile limit, we left that alone
Yes.
with the way things are.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kelly Fuller.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Kelly Foley zoning commissioner for a 1-year term. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approved payables. $344,001.14. Anybody have questions?
I see we have a lot of gym memberships for the sheriff.
Yeah, those are yearly. I had several questions
Wouldn't
on
we almost
Friday.
be better off having our own equipment in some room up there?
No, they all go to different gyms.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but it's not our problem.
Good point. The fire department has their own gym.
Well, I mean, if we got room. could Find something we should bring up at budget time.
That'll be next week.
Huh?
That'll be next week.
Yeah, but well, I think we need to prove this for now.
What are their questions to?
On the medical transportation to, or I'm sorry, on the transportation to the medical examiner, water coolers. Emily was looking into that one. Or so, do you know what happened on that, Courtney? We're paying for one of them, we're paying $24 a month rent, unless it's coded wrong, but that just seemed a little outrageous. There was a conservation one that looked like it was squirrel feed, but evidently it was a mower. I couldn't read the invoice very well. But yeah, I got all my questions answered. I'm afraid.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
We have a motion and a second to approve claims for $344,001.14. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Approved plats. So this one we have is requested by Randall Grossman and it's owned by Randy Russell. It looks kind of different than what we're used to. So this is a note that Sarah, I believe, sent all of us that the surveyor split the parcel into many lots over the 3 lots due to crossing corridors for better legal descriptions. However, that created lot sizes not allowable by our current zoning ordinances. Since the intent is to always buy and sell the lots as a single piece, the surveyor has included a note stating this on the survey to avoid any lot size issues. I see no issue with the survey from the assessor's office, GIS, or zoning office. Please let me know if you have any questions. And I think this took several tries. Are you aware of that, Courtney, to even get it through? I mean, the surveyor, I think, had to make multiple trips out to make it be legal. It's been several, back and forth.
Going back.
And I think it's at
It's really a chopped up deal.
It's at the southeast corner of Highway 71 and 250th.
Rules out section 13.
So I guess we're looking for a motion to approve the request by Randall Grossman for the property owned by Randy Russell. And there is a note on the page 3 that
Not
says,
Randy, it's actually owned by Randy Grossman, isn't it?
it says owned by Randy. In his note, it says the survey was done by land owned by Randy Russell into 3 pieces as 3 parcels.
I think it's a typo.
Hmm?
I think that's a typo.
Yeah.
Well, that needs to be fixed then. So do we want to approve it I mean, that's on the permanent document. Maybe this waits 1 more week. Cause that was where I got the Randy Russell name from.
I did not print that out.
Yeah, I don't know. If you wanna,
Approve it pending that change or
yeah, or maybe a Randy Russell did collect it. It's not saying on here that he owns the land. Well, then it does say land owned by.
I think this thing has been gone over and gone over and gone over. I know it's been kicked around a couple offices upstairs for several weeks.
Yeah, so maybe if you guys are willing to approve it pending clarification on the surveyor's report. And then if that is correct, great. If it's not, he'll submit a new one and
You know what? Either, let's just hold off for a week. I think just, I'll withdraw my motion.
Is there any other motion to approve? All right, moving on to item number 7, committee reports.
Last week I had Newton Radio and then I had Region 12 exec board and then after Region 12 exec board, we went into Region 12 RDC board.
Explain that one again, one more time.
I'm gonna share. It's a board that allocates funds. You have to apply for funds. Like a loaning board, if you will. Goes through 3 channels. There's a loan officer out at Region 12. She originally receives the loan application, then it goes to a loan board. And ultimately, then it comes to the RDC board and we make the ultimate decision if we're going to loan that money.
Was then its approval by the executive?
Yes. It's kind of like you go into boards and then you come out, because now that the RDC board approved this, it'll be on our next exec board meeting. But it's kind of convoluted, but, and these loans can be applied for across the whole state of Iowa. And I'm not gonna go into who applied or anything like that, that's very confidential, you don't explain, you don't. You just can't. And I can show you ones in the past that have, there's a list of people that have applied, it shows what they applied for, the amounts received, and that's an initial.
Thank you.
Exec board wise, we went over, we were gonna go over our fiscal year 2024 audit, but it is not complete. There's some new regulations that we have to follow, so we have done that. We did do a resolution naming the office depositories. We also did a resolution clarifying EDA revolving loan fund. And we did approve policy council appointments. Nothing changed in Carroll County except that you were off and you were on. For policy council, they meet. Is that?
At your request.
Yeah.
So.
I will.
You kind of suggested that, so if you're
Cool with that. The policy council only meets
quarterly and it's a dinner meeting, so we meet out there 5 Thursday night, I think is the policy at 6. So you'd come out at 6, we'll go over everything that any of the RDC, exec board, housing authority, all those boards above it, and then we just kind of give it over to you.
Good.
This week I have the newly elected meeting in Des Moines Wednesday and Thursday.
that is it.
This week I have a public health meeting tomorrow at noon. And then at 2:00, me and Mr. Perry are going to the ambulance, meeting with them to do a walkthrough or some budget things. I guess, hopefully we're in there. Hoping to go to the new officer school. Also. Basically, just wanted to ask, I sent you guys that email about the tractor repairs.
Yeah.
And we have to get back to them on that.
Oh,
Um,
where they got it all tore down and
and
Okay, yeah.
where he had asked, he could, you could pay for it out of his, repair line, to wipe out the system supply. Budget and the rest, or is that what we should do?
Courtney, guidance.
yeah,
I mean, can he do a budget amendment without it going before his board first?
I'm not sure what he does when he asks for a budget amendment from the Board of Supervisors, if he has Conservation Board. I mean, do they approve his budget before the Board of Supervisors does? Okay, then I would say yes.
Technically, it should go before them and then.
Yeah.
That makes sense, Mike.
They,
Hopefully they're not charging us daily storage for having a bench taken up with a motor all tore apart on it.
also, we do have. Yeah.
Good luck.
I can go. Last week, Tuesday, I did contact Kelly Foley and asked him to apply for the zoning commission vacancy. Gene and I on Tuesday also went to CCGP presentation by Eric Solomon on the St. Anthony finances and huge upcoming remodel. I did talk with Renee on Tuesday also about some HR issues and union negotiation, the transfer, and it sounds like she connected with you guys. Wednesday, I did contact a local tree service person about cleaning up Train 77 and would he be interested in using Iowa Prison Industry help? So I opened that door. And then at 1 o'clock, Zach, Mark McCray, we met with Clint Schmidt from Iowa Prison Industries about them supplying the manpower. And I think we got a green light if we can find a contractor to work with him. At 5:30 on Wednesday night, Solid Waste Commission monthly executive meeting was in Breda. At 7 o'clock was our annual Solid Waste Commission meeting. There is going to be July 1st, a change in tipping fees from $47 to $48 per ton. No assessment increases. The minimum charge for garbage will increase from $10.50 to $11. Wood waste will increase by $1 to $28 a ton. Special waste will increase from $89.25 to $91 a ton. Roll-offs will increase from 63 to 63.5 per ton. Brush, $47 to $48. Tires are staying the same. Electronics are staying the same. I've got the rough draft minutes if anybody wants to see all the changes. Thursday, I went out to secondary roads, looked through their claims, and I did return a call with a business in Dedham wanting a wayfinding sign, and I think what they wanted it was on 141, which would be state right away. Friday, courthouse claims. I also went to Chamber Coffee in Carroll at a Touch of Country. I did talk to Zach Niehaus about signage on this floor for the restrooms. Those are ordered. And he has had 2 people look at the basement office area downstairs for paint and carpet. So we're hoping to get quotes on that coming up soon. And I did stop and talk with Jamie about a bunch of issues at the ambulance and the 26 budget. This week, tonight, Carroll City Council, Wednesday and Thursdays, new officer training. And I did want to make a comment about, we all got an email from Sarah regarding the field work that they did last fall. So during the assessor field work, they noted 88 properties with structures added that did not obtain building permits prior to construction when checked against zoning department records. The zoning department will be sending out letters to all the individuals asking for permits to be filled out and charging the appropriate fees in accordance with the Iowa code. As a reminder, Carroll County is a zoned county and all changes such as additions and new structures should fill out a county building permit prior to construction. All permits may be obtained from the Carroll County Zoning Commissioner and are available on the county website. Anybody have questions or want to see the minutes from the landfill meeting?
I did.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Tuesday,
hungry?
no, well, I got things in place to go. Tuesday,
Wow.
uh,
Hurry up.
we got the CCGP board meeting, as Scott said, St. Anthony was there to give a presentation. Wednesday, I did meet out at New Opportunities. We did report back with our review of the 13 recommendations by architects for the building in Waukee, and we reduced that down to 3. This week, then I've got paper and radio, and then I have a CCGP executive board meeting yet this afternoon. And then tomorrow or Wednesday and Thursday, I'll be at ISAC's new officer school. And then Friday, I think, is also a meeting at Yes Center. I haven't got notice of that yet. And then also on Friday, I have, we will be meeting again, and we will be interviewing 3 architects to make a selection at that time. One thing too, also, well, that's all better. That's it.
Last week I met with Renee on some HR stuff for the union meeting that Mike and I are going to have with Jamie Whipker. Did the drainage ditch with Mike, Scott and Zach, which was very, very informal for me. I learned quite a bit about that. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I got the new officers training down in Des Moines. That's all I had.
Courtney, next week?
Just a reminder that the drain 23 election is this Saturday from 1 to 5.
So everybody stop by and have coffee with the election workers.
Okay, so next week we'll be canvassing that election. We have the fiscal 25 substance abuse semi-annual report. And then the people that got a hold of me for their budgets was secondary roads, GIS and P and Z, conservation, sheriff, home care aid, public health, recorder, and environment.
Can you send those out to us before Friday? Or if you get the information from them, can you send them out one at a time so we have those and
Yeah, I'll
start?
send them out as soon as I.
Otherwise, we'll be all weekend studying budgets.
I can send them out as soon as I get them. I know I have. I think I have the GIS and P and Z one.
I would make a recommendation for the next week's meeting that we split that because that's gonna be an all-day meeting.
We'll need a long
So
recess.
we'll need a lunch recess.
And we can maybe, Courtney, on Friday, after we look at them, try to set times as far as maybe we can do 9 o'clock, 9:30, try to stagger them. And I don't want to cut anybody short, but if we end up with a short lunch break or a long lunch break, but. Okay, any comments from those in attendance? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 11:11.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.